Honest Advent, Chapter 19, Room. Luke 2, 6 and 7. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger, because there was no guest room available for them. There was no room for them in the inn is possibly one of the most excavating reveals of this story, and perhaps the most misunderstood. The misunderstanding comes from years of evolving storytelling and our chronological distance from an ancient Middle Eastern context. Their society did not run like our 21st century does. Our traditional telling, fueled mostly by Renaissance paintings and children's Christmas plays at church, would have us believe that pregnant Mary and no-speaking lines Joseph are hurriedly making their way to Bethlehem because this baby is about to pop. But because of the Roman census, all the Holiday Inn Express hotels and the Quinta Inns were booked. Thankfully, one kind hotel manager had a big enough heart to offer his stable to them, rent-free, so Mary could give birth to the baby Jesus, while a donkey and an ox watched from their hay-filled beds. Oh, and some shepherds showed up later for the inaugural baby visit and brought along their sheep, who also have no speaking lines in the play, but look really cute in their cotton ball costumes. Although this storyline works pleasantly in a 35-minute, small-budget parish production, it's most likely not the way it went down. Mary and Joseph did go to Bethlehem for the census, but they were not in a hurry. The text says, while they were there, the days were completed, meaning they were in Bethlehem for a while, waiting for the baby to come in his own time. And they weren't alone. In this ancient society, family stayed with family, especially pregnant ones. We exist in a highly individualized society where it's normal not to stay overnight in your aunt and uncle's guest room or office, but hospitality and familial connections were a first priority back then. This is where we get tripped up with the word inn. Traditional translations have obscured the meaning, but the Greek word kataluma refers more to a guest room than a hotel room. So rather than being turned away from hotels, Joseph found his relative's house crammed with visiting family who were most likely there for the census. The couple didn't come face to face with closed doors. They just had to make arrangements in the lower level of the house, which in an ancient setting was also a place that often housed livestock overnight to protect them from theft or harm. This lacks the theatrical cadence and tension of our modern way of summing up the story, but you can see that Mary and Joseph more likely delivered Jesus at an unplanned family reunion. And yet, the writer wants you to know that there was no room for them in the usual place you would host pregnant family members. I mean, are you telling me that not one cousin, aunt, or uncle was willing to offer their better room to their family member's pregnant wife-to-be? That feels pretty indicting. Something was going on, and I believe no guest room available for them not only alludes to that, but excavates something deeply personal in us as well. We all come from families, and I say this knowing the word family has many different definitions. And no matter how wonderful that relational dynamic is, everyone butts up against the expectations that just naturally form in familial relationships from time to time. How you're supposed to act at the dinner table, what job you should have, how successful you should be, what kind of person you should marry, what beliefs you should have, what political party you should support, how you should wear your makeup, whether or not you should get tattoos. In the best light, these expectations occur because people love one another and want the best for the ones they care for. But we also know that we are love insecure. And part of finding our love security is checking off the list of what I'm doing right in order to have other people's approval. There is pressure to conform to the group standard of what it looks like to represent this family name. Maybe you feared, just like I have, that your choices, identity, transformations would influence your family to put on the no vacancy sign at the next gathering. Some of us have made choices in the pursuit of that wholeness that there's no turning back from. Some of us have awakened to conclusions about our identity that make loved ones we've known our whole lives uncomfortable or silently distant. Some of us have transformed so much from what we once were that we don't even know how to talk the same way we did back then. It's a weird thing to be a being. And to discover, honor, and embody the reality of that beingness that we're being given to be. It's interesting that the way Jesus came into the world didn't please everyone. He didn't come through the traditional way that appeased the family and cultural standards. While it's true that his incarnation was sung by a chorus of angelic hosts, his incarnation uncomfortably confronted many societal assumptions as well. And yet his incarnation was given away. A beloved, your incarnation will be given away too. Your incarnation, the beginning of who you will become, may happen in the small town where no one expects anything like that to be birthed, but it will not go unnoticed by the heavenly hosts. In fact, they may even sing over it. A small group of people, possibly strangers, will witness it and dance a jig because of it. Some elders in your community may see your small incarnation and whisper prayers of thanksgiving for witnessing your humble revelation. And later on, in a way you least expected, international travels may offer you precious gifts to carry you to the next phase of your life. One of the ways we may experience God with us presently is in the empathy that Jesus, Mary, and no lines Joseph have for us as seen through our incarnation emerging in the midst of a family dynamic. The story of Jesus' incarnation did not come without complications, but God provided room, and the giver of your incarnation will provide room for you too. It may not be the one you imagined, or the one that pleases everyone, and it may leave you uninvited to your own family reunion. But it is the incarnation you have been given, and it comes with good news of great joy. May you receive thanks for the gift of your incarnation.